Let me just start with what this all looks like from your position as governor of Minnesota. Obviously a state right next to Canada. I imagine you have good relationships. I imagine there's a lot of trade that goes on between your state and Canada. What has this all meant for your state?
Yeah, Minnesotans like Canadians. We share a lot, and we share a great relationship. First of all, they're our biggest trading partners. It's incredibly disruptive. The number of people who cross the border both ways, Minnesotans going into Canada to work and Canadians coming into Minnesota. It's beneficial to both of our countries. Look, we get 90% of our potash, which is the fertilizer for our huge ag economy. That's real impacts on real producers, driving up costs for producers at a time when we can't sell our products because Donald Trump has this ridiculous trade war going on. And just quite honestly, the chaos and the uncertainty that it causes, so many Minnesotans are asking, when was Canada our enemy? And it makes no sense. It's very difficult as a governor to be able to set and think about budgets, to be able to think about how are we going to continue to attract folks here. And then he starts, as he did today, a day that I've dreaded as a teacher, as a parent of a student in public schools, and as governor, a senseless attack on the Department of Education. And I hope that I think your viewers know there's no plan behind this. Donald Trump doesn't know how anything works. Donald Trump is this caricature that had a reality TV show that pretended like he knew how to run businesses. The reality is he doesn't. As a governor, we have to make these things work. Local school districts have to understand what are the impacts going to be when you lay off 1,300 experts who are there to make sure that every one of our children get an equitable education. And so it's chaos. And look, I think he thrives in this. And then he tells his supporters that only he can fix it. He's the guy who goes and starts the fire and then stands there and gives directions and acts like he knows how to put the fire out. He has no clue. So it's an arsonist with our economy. It's an arsonist with our institutions. He surrounds himself with people. The idea that the Secretary of Education would not know what IDEA meant, Individual with Disability and Education Act, that's like your mechanic not knowing how to put air in your tire. And she's in charge of this nation's educational progress. It is catastrophic. And look, the short-term numbers you were talking about, Chris, are real. And I think it flips people like, oh, you know, people who say, I voted for Donald Trump. I didn't know he would fire me. No kidding. No kidding. What I worry about is the generational change that this would make. Look, Ruby Bridges needed to be escorted into those schools, and the folks who went into Little Rock, because we didn't have an education department that ensured her civil rights were respected. That's gone now. And my son, those of you, your viewers who are out there now who have individual education plans that let them thrive and be their best people, what do they want us to do? Warehouse these kids, not give them the skills? And this is going to impact local schools directly. So it is absolute chaos. And the question I ask is, you said it, Chris. He didn't run on this stuff. He told you he'd lower prices. You know the one thing Linda McMahon in her press conference did not say? She did not use the word children, if I'm not mistaken. She did not talk about educational outcomes. They view education as an expense, just like Elon Musk talks about entitlement programs. Those aren't entitlement programs. Those are the things keeping my mom alive. She paid into Social Security for 80 years. She should get that money back. And that's not what they believe.
I want to go back just on that Canada issue and then come back around to the education cuts. I mean, you know, this insanity about we're going to take Canada, 51st state, calling Justin Trudeau governor. It's nuts and it's stupid and it's silly. But at a certain level, it's like, I think across the border, understandably, they're starting to take it seriously. It's the only possible feasible rationale that anyone could kind of figure out for this trade war he's launching. And I wonder, again, as a border state with relationships, you've been talking to your other leaders in Canada. There was this 25% surcharge on your electricity, which was dropped at the last second.
Yeah.
Like, what do you make of those threats and what they mean to that relationship between our two nations?
Yeah. Yeah, and so I don't blame the Canadians. They have to respond to protect their sovereignty and what they're doing. And when Donald Trump puts these on and takes them off, this has so much more damage than him pretending like it didn't impact. We have become untrustworthy. Yeah. And so if they are buying our soybeans or they're buying our corn, they're going to go look for a fair trading partner. And what Donald Trump doesn't understand, he thinks what he did in 2018, where we subsidized farmers to the tune of about $1.63 per bushel of soybeans just to keep them above water as he was fighting his trade war. We lost markets that took us decades to cultivate. They went to Brazil. They went to Argentina. And now we've got a surplus of products while input costs have gone up and nowhere to sell them. This is catastrophic. I had an event out on a farm. Look, I know many of those people didn't vote for us. But what I know about farmers is they understand international trade a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. And they know this is just ridiculous. I think he gets this in his head. And it's, it's like pretend for him, like it's not real. These are long-term cultural shared values. They matter. And the damage that's being done, the lack of trust that's happening, very difficult. So when I call Premier Ford or I call to Manitoba, they feel bad. They know that this is not all the American people doing it, but they feel like they have no recourse except to respond accordingly. And again, he negotiated the damn trade deal with them. If trade is so bad with Canada, he was the guy who signed the deal. It defies logic. But look, I think this is how he ran business. He stiffed contractors. He stiffed workers. He doesn't pay his bills. He declares bankruptcy. The one thing is, his claim that he's the business president, he is the worst possible business executive that I have ever witnessed. And I hope, this is what we need. I need the business community to speak up. The Wall Street Journal, thank you. Thank you for saying this is the stupidest trade war, because I've been saying it. And so now I can go back to my constituents, Republican constituents, and say, this is the reality of what you're facing. So, again, there is going to be pain. The richness of a sitting senator like Tommy Tuberville or Elon Musk telling us we're going to have to endure pain. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Again, I think Americans have had it. I hope they've had it. And now we just need to do what we can do to make the case. And look, I own this. We wouldn't be in this mess if we'd have won the election. And we didn't. We have to make sure that Americans know it's not just that Donald Trump is bad, but we're offering them something better. And I think that's what we need to work on.